Good evening, and welcome to the Town Council meeting, November 18th, 2013. Could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Krasko?
Present.
Councilor Clemens?
Present.
Councilor Langevin?
Excused.
Excused. Councilor Manna?
Present.
Councilor Marcucci?
Present.
Councilor Moriarty?
Present.
Councilor Nicola?
Present.
Councilor Peliquin?
Present.
Councilor Vandal?
Present.
8 here.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, November 4th, 2013. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion. Second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 4, subcommittee reports. General Government, Councilor Nicola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A meeting of the General Government Subcommittee was held on Thursday, November 7th in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were myself, committee members, Councilors Vandal, Moriarty, and citizen members Holly Christo and Michael Janes. Also in attendance were Councilors Clements, Manna, Peliquin, Town Manager Clark, Estelle Cowett, Roger Cowett, Helen Lenti, Evelyn Petrelli, Fred Morin, Sue Starkey, David Williams, Gus Steves, Maureen Doyle, Paulette DeSorsi, Richard Nash, Casey Jolin, and Leonard Laporte. I called the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Agenda item number 1, vote to appoint George Gus Steves to the Conservation Committee for a one-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2014, to fill the vacancy due to member resignation. Mr. Clark said Mr. Steves serves on a few committees, but none are quasi-judicial, and there is no conflict. A motion was made by Councilor Vandal and seconded by Councilor Moriarty with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the appointment of Gus Steves to the Conservation Committee for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2014, to fill the vacancy due to member resignation. Vote by a show of hands. All in favor, 5-0. Agenda item 2. Vote to appoint Lori Jeske of Southbridge as constable, effective immediately for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2016. Mr. Clark said Mrs. Jeske's husband is currently a constable and is unable to perform his duties due to personal reasons. Mrs. Jeske knows the duties and has asked to be appointed a constable. We are under the allotted number of appointments. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, and seconded by Holly Christo with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the appointment of Lori Jeske as constable for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2016. Vote by a show of hands. All in favor, 5-0. Agenda item number 3, vote to approve the proposed sign bylaw changes and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Clark gave an overview of the proposed sign bylaw. Discussion was held on several areas of the proposed bylaw changes. I said this bylaw will be vetted on the Council floor and can be tweaked before the 3rd reading. A motion was made by Michael Janes and seconded by Sean Moriarty with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the proposed sign bylaw changes. Vote by roll call. In favor were Councilors Nicola and Vandal and citizen members Christo and Janes. Opposed was Councilor Moriarty. Motion passes. Agenda item number 4, vote to approve the proposed recommendations of the Bylaw Review Committee, last amended on October 3rd, 2013, and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Laporte read a memorandum on the proposed recommendations by the Bylaw Review Committee. Much discussion was held on the different sections of the bylaws being changed. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Michael Janes with a non-favorable recommendation to Council to approve the proposed recommendation of the Bylaw Review Committee, last amended on October 3rd, 2013. Vote by roll call. In favor were Councilors Nicola and Vandal. Opposed were Councilors Moriarty and citizen members Christo and Janes. I'd just like to mention that the reason that this bylaw, this particular agenda item, did not receive a favorable recommendation was due to the fact that there was an awful lot to cover and some of the councilors wanted to continue discussion. We will have another meeting to finish that. This meeting ended at 9:45 in the evening, and I felt that was enough. So I will be scheduling another General Government Subcommittee meeting to complete discussion of the Bylaw Review Committee's recommendations. There was one other item that evening, the heating system at the fire station. Mr. Clark said the boiler at the fire station has failed, and they have brought in temporary heating. They have an anticipated cost to replace these units of approximately $60,000. Funding will be from three sources: $20,000 from the contingency fund, $20,000 from the Casella royalty funds related to capital, and $20,000 from the sale of land. A motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Councilor Vandal. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 5-0. And the meeting adjourned at 9:50 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, Recording Clerk. I'd like to also mention that these items are not on the agenda. The other three items are not on the agenda this evening for a vote. They will be coming up at our next regularly scheduled Town Council meeting. I don't have a meeting scheduled at this time. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Moriarty?
I just wanted to note that just a typo, or the way it was written is odd, in that on agenda item number 4, it notes that a motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, seconded by Mike Janes, and it says with a non-favorable recommendation to council. The motion, whether it was, I recall it being just the standard of being the favorable, because then if you look at the actual roll call vote, you have those who voted against the actual favorable recommendation. So that's all I wanted to point out, that the motion wasn't a non-favorable recommendation. It was actually for a favorable recommendation, and that's what failed, 3-2.
Okay. We'll make that correction. Thank you.
Non-favorable should be completely taken out, and just recommendation should be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nicola. DPW, Councilor Vandal?
Thank you. I have no report, but I have a meeting scheduled for November 20th, 7 p.m. in the Rice Conference Room. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Education and Human Services. An Education and Human Service Subcommittee was held on Wednesday, November 13th, in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, Councilor Clements, Councilor Manor, Citizen Member Leanne Pate. Also in attendance were Councilor Moriarty, Town Manager Clark. I called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Agenda item number 1, vote to appoint Paulette DeSorsi to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term, effective immediately through June 30th, 2016, and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Clark stated Ms. DeSorsi wants to get involved. A motion was made by Councilor Clemens, seconded by Councilor Manor, with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the appointment of Paulette DeSorsi to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2016. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, vote to reappoint Michael Marino to the Commission on Disability for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2016, and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Clark said Mr. Marino was previously a member of the Commission on Disability and left due to medical reasons. Things have been resolved, and he wishes to come back and serve on the commission. A motion was made by Leanne Pate, seconded by Councilor Clements, with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the appointment of Michael Marino to the Commission on Disability for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2016. Vote by a show of hands, 3 in favor, 1 abstention. Agenda item number 3, vote to approve the transfer of FY 2014 Local Cultural Council funds for the Mass Cultural Council in the amount of $9,300, covering the dates of services from July 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2014, and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Clark stated this is the standard transfer from the state to the Local Cultural Council. A motion was made by Councilor Clements, seconded by Councilor Manor, with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve the transfer of the FY 2014 Local Cultural Council funds for the Mass Cultural Council in the amount of $9,300, covering the dates of service July 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2014. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. A motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Clements, seconded by Councilor Manor. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0.
Meeting was adjourned at 7:06 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, Recording Clerk. And at this time, councilors, I have no meeting scheduled for EHS. Planning and Development, Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no minutes this evening, but we do have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, November 26th at 6:30 p.m. in the Rice Conference Room. There'll be a number of initiatives on there in terms of updates from the Economic Development Office on happenings in town and some of the grants and such. So it should be a very interesting and informative evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Protection and Person and Property, Councilor Moriarty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A meeting of the Protection of Persons and Property Subcommittee was held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2013, in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, Councilors Nicola and Carrasco, and citizen members Jack Jovan and Richard Nash. Also in attendance was Town Manager Clark. I called the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. The one and only agenda item was to vote to approve the contract with Stan Kabienski, Inc. in the amount of $15,900 for the demolition and removal of materials from 130 Everett Street. Mr. Clark said that there was very little contaminated material within the property and that Mr. Kabienski was the successful bidder. A demolition lien will be placed on the property, and the contractor is ready to begin demolition as soon as council approves contract. Motion was made by Jack Jovan and seconded by Richard Nash with a favorable recommendation to approve this contract and for the removal of those materials from 130 Everett Street to submit to council for ratification. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 5-0. Motion was made to adjourn by Jack Jovan, seconded by Councilor Carrasco, and was also unanimous, all in favor. Meeting adjourned at 6:15 p.m. And the PPP Subcommittee has a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, November 19th at 7 p.m. That'll actually be in the Veterans Meeting Room, which is downstairs, the old assessor's office. And the two agenda items there, one will be looking at the police union contract, as well as the recommendations from the police audit and how the town will respond to those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moriarty. Agenda item number 5, Chairman's announcements. I have none this evening. Agenda item number 6, Town Manager's announcements. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, we do have a person in the audience, John Shudka, who I believe there are a minimum of 3 proclamations that will be read for him. So if I could, Madam Chair, and ask you to do the first one, and we'll invite Representative Durant and then the fire chief up afterwards to commence their portion.
Whereas John Sugar has been a longtime member of the Southbridge Fire Department, serving continuously for 30 years since his appointment on January 24th, 1983. Whereas he has served faithfully as a call firefighter and later as call captain until his resignation on August 1st, 2013. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Town Council, the Town Manager, and the citizens of Southbridge, we hereby recognize and congratulate John Sugar for his distinguished service to the town of Southbridge.
Good evening, everyone. I'm certainly happy to be here tonight to celebrate and commemorate the career of John Shugda. I think that when we look back at our careers as we come to retirement, I think we like to look back at the body of work that we've accomplished over those years. And you know, if we're in construction, we point to buildings. We say, well, you know, we were able to build that building. And if we were a teacher, we say, look at all these children that I've educated and they've gone on to better things. But what we have here with John is somebody who can look back at a career and look at the community that he served. Look at the people that he's gone and saved, in the property that he saved. And so I'm very happy to be the representative for this town and to be able to come here with a citation from the Massachusetts House of Representatives that says, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Captain John Shugden, recognition of your retirement from the Southbridge Fire Department after 40 years of dedicated service. It's 40 years?
30 call times.
Holy mackerel. What'd you start when you were 10? Okay. All right, so anyway, so the entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all of your endeavors. Signed by the Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo, and myself, Peter Durant. John, congratulations very much. We appreciate it.
Good evening. Again, Captain Sugar certainly has donated a lot of time. And while, 30 or 40 years, that's a lot of time. And John certainly has helped a lot of the current career staff get their positions. I've heard stories where he used to run a interview panel to help them to be better at their interviews when they were applying for the full-time job. So John certainly has had his handprint on everything that we've done in the fire department in Southbridge. So I was able to apply to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Fire Service Commission, and it presents the Massachusetts Firefighter Service Award to Captain John B. Shugden, Southbridge Fire Department, in grateful appreciation and recognition of your 30 years of dedicated fire service as a call firefighter on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Signed, David Butler, Fire Service Commission Chairman, myself, and Stephen D. Cohen, the State Fire Marshal.
I don't think we have a couple hours to hear me, so I'm just going to say thank you very much. It's been a great 40 years, and community service means a lot to a lot of people in this town, and I hope that we can generate more help at the younger age in order to continue community service. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to do that. I do have several additional announcements. The first that I have is that the Jacob Edwards Library has received a bequest of up to, actually in the amount of $10,000 from the estate of Florida Tarquino as a gift. That is being submitted directly to the library trustees. They will formally accept that and then spend it in accordance with the language of the trust. Also, the next item is we have a winter parking ban. I'm not going to read through the entirety of all the streets. We will have it posted on our website and posted on the site on the scroll for the cable viewers. But the winter parking ban does commence on December 1st. And just so folks are aware, I know we have a lot of issues in regards to this over the years. This has actually been in place since 1969, the current winter parking ban and snow emergency routes. It does commence on December 1st and runs through April 1st. If each year it begins the hours of 7 p.m. to 7 p.m., parking shall be allowed only on odd-numbered side of any town on any odd-numbered days, even-numbered side on any even-numbered days, and no vehicle shall be parked or left unattended except in accordance with this regulations. So, and we do have various snow emergency routes. Again, there's an awful lot, so I'm going to ask people to look at the website or on the scroll to be able to obtain specific information. But I did want to alert people, and that winter parking ban does go whether it snows or not. And as always, I always hope that it doesn't snow so we don't have to spend money on clearing it. We also received some material from Senator Richard Moore. He, along with Worcester State University, the Southbridge Council on Aging, Centros Las Americas, and the Southbridge Board of Health will sponsor a free memory screening. It's going to be this Thursday, November 21st, at a location, the Southbridge Senior Center at 153 Chestnut Street in Southbridge from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It is free and refreshments provided by Senator Moore's office. So for folks that have an interest in that, you're more than welcome to attend. Also on Charlton Street and Brookside, that project is essentially 99% done. The last remaining work that needs to be done is the driveway aprons. It's the transition from individual driveways to the roadway. We anticipate that that work will start on Wednesday and then go through. The paving itself will commence on Thursday and Friday, so that's individual homeowners and the transition between the two spots. The last three items that I have is that, just as a reminder, we will be having on the December 2nd Town Council meeting the setting of the tax rate. So that is an important meeting. The tax classification hearing, which is established that, basically determines whether we will have a single tax rate or a split tax rate between residential and commercial properties. So if you have an interest in that, that would be the day to come out, December 2nd. We will have a few budget items, as we usually do during that same meeting, to kind of wrap up budgetary items. And then I have two remaining ones. The council went through and each individual member identified their top 5 priorities for goals and objectives for the town manager. So I would like to just pass out the consolidated list so the members of the council are aware. And then I will just indicate the ones that were identified due to the scores. We kind of grouped them into, the chairman and myself, grouped them into categories. So we have 2 primary. I think that these had 6 out of the 9 councilors viewed. The sewer plant and the different issues related down there. There are significant regulatory compliance issues that will emerge. The second one that also received, I believe, 6 out of the 9 was Casella related issues, which obviously they're on tonight for their presentation on the life of the landfill. The secondary issues, and this means that they received 5 votes, was town hall reorganization, various issues related to that. And then also another secondary issue that received 5 votes was Commercial Drive, to continue the development of Commercial Drive. 4 out of the 9, there were a couple that were tied. The collective bargaining agreements, police and fire, as was indicated earlier, the police has been, we have a tentative settlement, so we are processing that, and we are in active negotiations with fire. And then the other 2 are the water has some issues related to SCADA and some dam work that needs to be done. And then the Charlton IMA. We have sent a copy of the Charlton, our version of the Charlton IMA to Charlton, and have yet to receive any feedback in terms of the submitted materials. And then the last item this evening is, I know in the newspaper it has been reported that I have been interviewed by the town of Harwich as their town administrator. I have formally accepted the position in Harwich and have come to contract terms with them. I signed the contract this weekend, and pursuant to my agreement with the town, I have a requirement to provide 30-day notice. So officially today, I submitted a letter that went to the town clerk and to the chairman that my 30-day notice. It's my intent that I will work through till December 27th and then start in Harwich as a Friday and start in Harwich on Monday. So I actually don't really want to be too emotional because it has been a great time here with the town. Very, very difficult decision, and I really appreciate all the kind words and comments that I have received, not only in the time that I've been the manager here, but recently. And very, very difficult decision, but sometimes when you have to weigh out your career versus personal concerns, that family has to come first to a large degree. But, so I do have the letter, and I will pass that out, and just wish to formally announce that it is my intent to resign effective December 27th. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Agenda item number 7, swearing in and presentation. The first is the Sustainability Committee, and that would be Mr. Dave Williams, Mara McDonald, and Gus Steves.
Okay, thank you very much for your time tonight. If you could all look at our presentation here. We are the Town of Southbridge Sustainability Committee, and we're here to sort of close the loop on a conversation that was started about a year ago. Oh, sorry, thank you. Better? Yeah. Okay. Our mission, in case you're not familiar with that, is to recommend programs to the Board of Health that will help reduce residential and business recycling, reduce residential waste, and make Southbridge, I'm sorry? Okay. Make Southbridge a more sustainable community by implementing our 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle. In addition to all of that, we are here to help meet our goals in the master plan. Who we are. We are Kevin Buxton. He is not with us tonight. Maureen Doyle is here. I'm Mara McDonald, Gus Steves, and Dave Williams. We're also working with Eric Jacobson, who is our Board of Health advisor. Okay, so why reusable mugs? Americans use an estimated 16 billion of paper coffee mugs annually. That's over 6.5 million trees a year, and it generates 253 million pounds of solid waste per year. 4 billion gallons of water are used in a paper cup production process per year. That's enough to fill about 6,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. I'll turn this over to Gus. Okay.
And I'm not going to just read what you can read here, but I just wanted to point out a few interesting facts about both paper and styrofoam, why we're here primarily. Because of these things. The kinds of things that if you're familiar with cleaning up the streets, you'll find them everywhere, and they are polluting. The paper specifically, it's interesting, doing a little research online, you find that each 16-ounce paper cup, plus the artwork and sleeve and all the stuff that's associated with it, is about 22 cents. 200 customers a day, therefore that means any business selling these things is $44 just on cups alone without the labor or anything else involved in that. That's just for the raw materials. So the less a coffee shop can spend on paper cups and more, and they can encourage people to bring their own or have them permanently for reuse. That means that the more they can pay their employees and the more that they can put into the community. Most of the paper cups, like these things, they're not really paper, they're wax paper, or they're coated with polyethylene, which from their MSDS, which is the materials data sheet at various websites, among other things, polyethylene burns to create a dense toxic smoke, which has, among other issues, can be an eye, skin, and lung irritant. And when it's in a landfill, when it's decomposing, it releases carbon monoxide, ammonia, and other hazards during burning or decomposition. Paper making itself uses a long list of chemicals. Some of them are common and harmless, many of them aren't, but some of them are also very toxic, including chlorine. Yeah, please. Okay. The styrene itself, however, is the big problem. Not only is it big business, according to the EPA from 1994 figures, so that's obviously it's still out of date, but it was $1 billion a year business then. And 2/3 of it rather goes into polystyrene, this stuff. The catch is that with styrene itself, styrene is normally a liquid, and then it turns into this, which unfortunately, if you've ever seen, like for example, if you have fatty foods or really hot foods, especially I've seen it happen, for example, with like French fries. You can see that they'll create pits in the styrofoam. That's because it's reliquefying. That's not good for you. It's noted for being a variety of different problems, but one of the things that comes up repeatedly if you look for it is it's a neurotoxin. because it increases your reaction time, it reduces memory and concentration, it causes visual issues, it causes depression. Most of these studies have been done with people who work with this stuff. So the concentrations they're talking about are usually quite a bit higher than somebody exposed to one simple cup, but it's still not something you want to play with. And according to the EPA, it's interesting that the EPA in 1986 found that styrene is in all of the blood samples they found in the National Human Adipose Tissue Survey. And it has been, documented since at least 1972. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So what we are asking you today is to reuse this beautiful reusable mug that we have designed, and we're going to have our lovely assistants here hand out to you. Go ahead. Got it? We're asking that you use this when at all possible and to use your hot beverages with, and a reminder that this will help us reduce the usage of all non-biodegradable cups by promoting reusable options. Some things that you don't know is that many coffee shops, including Dunkin' Donuts, do offer a discount when you bring your own mug.
This is such a nice idea.
Just give these guys a second.
Oh, wow. Oh, thank you.
We have some other projects planned for 2014, so you will see us again. One of the things that we are working on right now is a sustainability fair, and you'll see that around Earth Day, where we'll be offering some other educational materials around ways to be sustainable. Okay, that's all for today.
Thank you.
Mike?
Next is the Latino Elder Program, Roxana Gomez.
Good evening, everybody. Buenas noches a todos. Some people know me a little bit, but I'm going to explain what is my role or my goal to bring the Latino Elder Program in Southbridge. We offer the Latino population 60 and over and under with necessities like mass health, SNAP, housing, and especially the Latino who are depressed at home. We want to bring them out of their houses and give them the opportunity to socialize with different cultures, different friends, and getting out of there because the depression in the Latino community is very, very high. And Central Las Americas and the community of Southbridge and the town of Southbridge gave us the opportunity since 2012 to have the Latino Elder Program in Southbridge at the Senior Center. I had 5 members in 2012. Now I have 43 members, and a lot of people who don't know, I know, are coming to the Senior Center to become a member. The only thing they need to qualify is being 60 and low income. And like you know, Southbridge has a 30% Latino population, and most of them are low income. The only thing I can offer you, or the more important thing, is to give them a nice huggy, a nice embrace, and a nice opportunity to have human contact, because sometimes they are in 4 walls and they don't have any opportunity to talk with anybody. I think the society left them behind, or they left themselves behind in a lot of ways. So I'm here. We are at Senior Center Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12:30. We offer coffee, and they donate money for the lunch. Before it was the opportunity because we have a grant, but now they are having a good time. Thank you to the town of Southbridge give us the opportunity to stay there at the Senior Center, and Central Las America is supporting me with that, and we want to continue there for many years to come. Any questions, I will be happy to answer. And you have a flyer, so I appreciate if you have any questions, and I will be here. Mr. Clark, thank you. Thank you. It was very nice to meet you, and thank you for support our group and all the town. Good luck.
Thank you.
Any question? If you need some flyers in Spanish, I have in Spanish.
Thank you very much, Roxana. And the last is the presentation of the landfill, Casella, tie and bond.
Madam Chair, maybe if I could, just while they have an opportunity to set up, we do have in the audience this evening, and will be part of the presentation, but are doing it on behalf specifically of the town of Southbridge, Dave Murphy from Tie and Bond in the front row. And then also, if any questions come up, we have Mike Scott from Nutter, McClellan and Fish, who has been instrumental in assisting me in the oversight of some of the issues related to this landfill operation. So I just wanted the board to know that we do have additional resources in the audience in regards to this, and they specifically work for the town of Southbridge. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. If you could identify yourself, and
Hi.
we'll take your presentation.
Hi, my name is Tony King. I'm a regional engineer with Casella Waste Systems, and I'm here with John Faris, our landfill manager, and Dave Adams from our consulting firm, Sanborn Head. He's going to get the presentation up on the slide soon. No? We were asked to do an informational presentation summarizing the remaining landfill capacity and the historical airspace consumption. Following that portion of the presentation, there will be a landfill capacity overview by Tie and Bond, the consulting firm for the town. And then we're going to summarize some potential landfill development alternatives and permitting requirements. Just to orient you, you can see on the site locus plan the area of, that's Route 169, and Commercial Drive, relatively new, which goes to the airport, to the landfill property, and there's the airport. The existing landfill area is the black outline. Our active fill area, our active cell is here. We just finished construction of this portion of a cell, and then next year, in calendar year 14, we will be constructing the remaining cell of the permitted landfill. So I wanted to talk quickly about factors that affect the landfill lifespan. There's a lot of variation, a lot of factors that affect that. I think it's helpful to walk through these before talking about the projections, which are included in the next few slides. So a few of the factors are waste type, waste thickness, and compaction. And to a certain extent, those are the three that we can control as landfill operators. And those determine the airspace consumption factor, also called the airspace utilization factor, or the general compaction factor, and I'll probably interchange those terms. Design modifications also affect landfill lifespan, as do regulatory changes. Airspace consumption factor is defined as the total tons of waste placed in a given volume, or what we call tons per cubic yard. And I could go into a lot of detail and depth about that, but it's simplistically different material types take up different space because of their densities. So you see in these two blocks, 5 tons of MSW or trash will take up a significantly greater volume than 5 tons of soil, for instance. And then one of the other factors that significantly affect compaction is settlement of the waste material. So if you have a relatively flat landfill surface, you have less settlement. If you have a larger landfill surface, you have a greater settlement. So the easy way to think about this is the old adage, a pound of bricks versus a pound of feathers, and if you threw them out the window, which would hit the ground faster. But in this instance, a pound of bricks would take up about that much of our landfill airspace, and a pound of feathers would take up about half of this room, maybe. And so changing the waste mix obviously will change your compaction or your consumption, and also squishing it down with more material on top of it will change that compaction as well. So the phase 1 portion of the existing landfill is just that, what's currently permitted. The phase 2 portion of the landfill, which we'll talk about a little later on in the development alternatives, which was contemplated in the previous agreement with the town of Southbridge, is not included in this line. But during the site assignment hearings previously in around 2007, CDM, which was a previous consultant to the town, had projected a landfill life of phase 1, the existing landfill footprint, when it was, our current run rate was about 180,000 or 181,000 tons per year. And they used a range of compaction factors, and the highest compaction factor they used based on industry averages was 0.8 tons per cubic yard. And so you'll see this line projects out with those assumptions that the landfill would, existing permitted landfill would be filled to capacity in 2030. They also utilized a secondary or lower compaction factor of 0.64, which illustrates that the existing permitted landfill will be filled to capacity in 2025. So they've got a 5-year variance if you just change one of those factors, which is the compaction factor. We have a current run rate of 0.67, and that's based on 2006 through 2012 average data. We can go back and discuss the variations in compaction factor, but that's what we're currently averaging. And so you can see here, this was the higher CDM value. The blue line is the lower CDM value. The purple line, which starts out with actual points based upon annual surveys and tonnage reconciliation, shows that at our current runway rate, our existing permitted landfill capacity will be filled by 2019. So, and remember that in 2012, we increased our waste acceptance rate to 300,000 tons per year, and in 2013, we increased our waste acceptance rate to 600 tons per year. And during the site assignment hearings, we made representation, which turned out to be pretty accurate, that phase 1 of the landfill, existing permitted landfill, will be filled to capacity in on or about 2020. Oh, can you go back? So as I briefly discussed, when we get farther along in our presentation, the phase 2, which is the green line here, will add about 6 years of lifespan to the landfill. And it includes the full build out of the site as contemplated in the agreement between the town of Southbridge and Southbridge Recycling and Disposals Park. So, in summary, there are many factors that affect the lifespan of the landfill. Our previous lifespan prediction was pretty accurate, and Phase 1 of the landfill will be filled to capacity by 2019. Phase 2 of the landfill provides about 6 additional years of capacity. We would propose to do, since we do the annual updates for our internal purposes anyway, we would propose at some date following our annual survey that we provide the town council with an annual update similar to this to let you know how we're doing on capacity and landfill life moving forward. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Dave Murphy from Ty and Bond.
Thank you very much. My name is David Murphy. I'm a principal, vice president with Ty and Bond. We've been hired by the town to provide third-party review services. In our capacity, basically the scope of work that Mr. Clark has asked us to perform is we reviewed the February 2007 Camp Dresser and McKee letter. We went through and analyzed all the scale data, the documents provided by Casella and their consultants in the aerial surveys, and we reviewed their life projections. The purpose of it was simply to do a truth check and a third-party review of those numbers. In the course of doing that, we've developed some tables. They're presented a little bit differently, but hopefully they'll help you solidify your understanding of the life projections. This table shows, first off, across the top is number of years. That goes from 0 years to, and they're in increments of 5, so 0, 5, 10, up to 40 years. The bottom starts at 2007 and runs out to whatever the date is there. My eyes are bad. Sorry, it's not larger. Hopefully the council members have copies in front of them. The top is an illustration of using the 405,000 tons per year. The middle is at 300,000 tons per year, and the bottom is the 180, which is what we started with in 2007. If I could turn your attention to the bottom graph, there are 3 separate bars that go horizontally across. The first bar is in yellow. The table in the top right will show you what that means. That means the lower density. The Camp Dresser predicted 0.062 utilization factor. It's the lowest density of the ones predicted. The black line is the higher density that was predicted by Casella Waste. And then the green line represents what they have achieved, the actual compaction they've achieved. So you can see each of these graphs going across show the lower to middle to higher density achievement rates. The bottom is a prediction of life using the 180,000 tons per year. And you can see, based on just this, that the variation in life, if you were to follow just 180,000, gives you a life projection of about, I think it's between 18 and 23 years, 24 years. So when this was presented in 2007 by Camp Dresser McKee, they gave you the range of densities, and it shows you the life predictions of using the different variation rates. The reason I've put the other 2 charts up, the other 2 bars, the middle one, is because the tonnage of the landfill increased from 180,000 tons per year to 300. This shows the reduction in life had you started at 300,000 tons per year in 2007. And again, you can see the life of the landfill was significantly reduced. The top chart is the top graph, or the lines are intended to basically show that at the 405,000, had you started in 2007 at 405,000 tons per year, the life would be much less. I think that's between 8 and 10 or 8 and 11 years. I think that's 8 and 10. Is that correct? And the red line simply shows where we are today. So again, this is just it's a way to illustrate the variation by tonnage, the variation by densities. The graph that's been inserted shows that this is the projection for the 5.2 million cubic yards that was estimated back in 2007, which is still true today, of the existing permitted footprint of the facility. The next chart I'm going to show you, or the next slide I'll show you, is the same graph, same table, same lines, but it will show the phase 2, which was also anticipated in the contract at the time in 2007. This shows effectively going up to the 9.4 million cubic yards, which was part of the contract, and it shows the extension in life out, again, playing out the three different tonnage rates and the three different density factors. We've effectively cross-checked Casella's data. We've agreed with their data. We've agreed with their lifetime projections, and we've put our third-party effective stamp on their projections. So hopefully this is helpful to the council, and I'll be available for questions after.
I apologize that we didn't hand those out beforehand. So now we'll talk about the Phase 2 site build-out per the agreement previously contemplated with the town. Again, the existing landfill footprint. Our initial build-out plans called for I think you can see the orange line there. Runs kind of like that. Of a site build-out volume of 4.4 million cubic yards, which would have given us about 7.5 years of capacity at the current run rate. We have an obvious need to site assign 2 parcels of land that are within that footprint. It was anticipated and contemplated in the agreement that we would do so. Obviously, since that time, we've constructed what we call the blue building proposed for C&D processing. And we have a tenant on board that will be moving into that facility sometime next year. And we've taken a look at the wetlands and natural resource areas on this side of the landfill and have made a decision to pull in the footprint to the green line that you can see. We've dropped down the capacity of Phase 2 to 3.6 million cubic yards, and it gives us about 6 years of capacity. But by doing so, we're going to minimize the impact of any associated wetlands or habitat. Earlier, we came to an agreement with the town of Southbridge on some common goals, and one of them was to work collaboratively on optimizing the use of land to maximize opportunities concerning the town's landfill asset. So before expansion of the landfill can occur, some infrastructure projects need to be completed. We've obviously completed the construction of Commercial Drive. The C&D processing facility will be rented and utilized as a C&D processing facility within the next year. H-foot road extension will be constructed, and in conjunction with that H-foot road extension construction, there's a triangle piece of land here that is effectively subdivided from town-owned land here. That will be conveyed to Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park and likely end up as an ancillary property to the Blue Building tenant. And then Barefoot Road will be abandoned to facilitate the landfill build-out. H-foot road construction allows for access to this parcel of land. Because of the geography, it's difficult to access from Commercial Drive. It will allow the Tower Road construction and industrial property development. This slide just gives kind of a brief overview of a 5 to 7 year timeline of requirements for permitting Phase 2. There are a number of permits that are required, as you can imagine, for a build-out of a landfill. And conservatively, we're at 5 to 7 years, and that pretty much coincides with when we think the existing landfill footprint will be filled to capacity. So we're starting now, and that's one of the reasons that we're here talking to you. In accordance with the Common Goals Agreement and thinking about optimizing the use of surrounding land, we've taken a look at conceptual landfill expansion options. We've been told that the town is considering options for repurposing the airport, including an industrial park option, and may see the potential value of conversion of that asset. So the initial thing to think about here is that with the closure of the airport, regardless of what happens to it following closure, it would allow for an increased height at the landfill, which would provide about 1.5 million cubic yards or 2.5 years of capacity because of that height. An actual landfill at the airport property would provide about 18 million cubic yards or about 30 years of capacity. And probably the more viable option, the McKinstry parcel, we have an option on that parcel of land, and excluding a number of wetlands issues there, it would provide about 4 million cubic yards or about 7 years of additional capacity. We've also begun talking about the potential of acquiring the Tower Road property, which would allow us to relocate some of the landfill utility infrastructure, such as the scales, the office building, the flare, potential leachate tank, and put it all into one location so all of the ancillary services are in a single area. And that's it. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any counselors have any questions, comments?
I do.
Councilor Nicola?
I'm going to cut through all of it. So what you're saying is Phase 1, unlike what we were originally told back in 2007, where we were told that we would have at least 20 years of a landfill, and I understand all of your charts and all, that isn't going to happen. It won't be 2027. that this landfill will be filled, or at least phase one of it, we've got about 6 more years. We're looking at 2019. Phase two would add another 6 years to that. So we're looking at phase one and phase two ending out in 2025. You're coming here this evening talking to us about a piece of property, McKinstry property, which I believe, as you stated, is wetlands. So I'm kind of concerned as to how you would get around that. In terms of the airport, I can assure you, and I do believe that I speak for the council when I say the airport will not be expanded upon as a landfill. I don't know if that's too cut and dry, but as a person who's been on the town council since 2005, who supported this, took an enormous amount of heat about this, I am less than happy. This is my last year on the council, and by the end of June, I hope that we have some resolution here, because I have no interest whatsoever in expanding beyond what our contract allows us to. I have no interest whatsoever. I know it's not your fault, but I've heard a lot of stuff right now. I'm not smiling. I made some promises to this community, and that whole piece is not going to be a landfill. Not if I have anything to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Clark?
Madam Chair, if I could, I just want to make sure we put things in the right context. In the Common Goals letter, we had specifically asked for what is or what could be a future master plan for that area. So the concepts that have been portrayed tonight, the McKinstry piece and the piece at the airport, are simply just data points for the town council to have as a reference. That's what those are designed to do. Now, one of the things that was a surprise to me, I wasn't here for the negotiations, so we had to go back through to find out. It was contemplated in the original agreement to have phase one and phase two. So the phase two is headed towards where the blue building is. So there are two pieces to accomplish what was contemplated in the CDM agreement. So I think that's something that, whether the council was, I certainly wasn't fully aware of that until we started to go through this exercise. But I do think the way the CDM report says, it definitely contemplated 2 phases to this, one on the existing footprint and then one basically across the street headed towards the blue building in order to optimize the 18.5 years. And I think that's what the presentation tonight basically verifies. Depending upon what goes in there, the lifespan can be fluctuated by a couple of years, but the Casella folks are on target for what CDM had said to the council that landfill could deliver for the town of Southbridge. And that's my only point. On the airport and all that, I'll take responsibility because I did say to them that we should keep that at least, the council is, I think, owed the obligation to know what those different factors are. As the council is aware, administration has limited those to 2 areas, the continued operation of the airport and to use the airport as an industrial site. If the airport was to be used as an industrial site, we could gain 2 years by going up on the landfill, because what caps the landfill is the FAA requirements at 850 feet. They could go above that threshold. That's something that I think in the debate that the council needs to have about the future of the airport. As an industrial park, there is a benefit or a side impact to that, to the landfill, that I wanted to make sure that council was clearly aware of. So this was really designed as an educational opportunity to make sure that people are aware of the different options. There is no commitment, administration has not made any commitment at all other than what we've already made to continue to explore. But I think it was at least our obligation to make sure that council was fully aware of what the potentials are. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other councilors? Councilor Moriarty?
All I've got to say is just no. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a statement. Back in 2007, I was on the Board of Health, and I was actually one of the voting members to accept the landfill. And it's a little disturbing to find out within the past 3 months that what I thought we were told years ago, you don't ever have to worry about the landfill being full. You've got 25, 30 years. And now within the past 3 months, and unbeknownst to myself, and I think the council and the community, that this was pretty surprising to myself to find out that we have approximately 7 to 10 years left with the landfill and it being to capacity. And I just don't understand, when we were increasing the tonnage and we knew that the landfill was going, we were going to lose the years on the landfill, why was that never brought to our attention? I just had assumed that things were being compressed and recycled, and, you know, I wasn't concerned about the years of the landfill and how long it would sustain. And now, all of a sudden, within the past 3 months, we find out, guess what? Everything that you thought for all these years is not happening.
One of the reasons that's kind of why we want to come here every year, because, you know, a lot of people have different assumptions, and years go by, and people assume one thing, and other people assume another thing. As Ty and Bond stated, really, the numbers over the last few years really haven't changed. You are right, as you add more volume, your life of your landfill decreases. Why that wasn't highlighted, really, I don't know. I mean, I've been here now, I was just saying the other day, I've been here since November of 2003. So I've been here 10 years around the landfill. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that question would have to go back and look, whether that question was asked during the site assignment hearings or whether it wasn't, or all I know is what we represented. And we're not really representing anything different, I'm almost positive, than what we had said back when we did the site assignment hearing in 2008.
I just never recall anyone coming before council and saying, you have to understand now, because of the increased tonnage, obviously the life of the landfill is going to decrease. I assumed, and maybe I'm an idiot for assuming, that Casella was working to the full capacity, even though what we accepted as increased tonnage, we were still going to have the life of the landfill that we were sold years ago.
See, one of the things, too, is that's a great statement, but what you think maybe is the end of the landfill might not be the same as Councilor Nicola's end of the year life. And maybe that's our fault for not communicating it to everybody. But I think everybody might have a different, when they think that landfill was going to end. Because I think if you ask 3 different people, I bet you get 3 different answers, including my own. So.
Thank you. Councilor Carrasco?
You just stated that you wanted to come on a yearly basis and present this to the council. What stopped you from doing that?
What's stopping me from doing what, sir?
Presenting a yearly report to the council.
Oh, every year?
Yeah.
Nothing has stopped us.
So it was basically irresponsibility of Casella not reporting back to us. Because you're saying that each and every one of us might have had a different opinion, but I think we go based on the signed document and the contract that we had before us. So our assumptions was it's going to end when the contract ends. So my question to you would be, your statement was you wanted to present this yearly basis. So you're going to come back to me next year and say, I don't got 3 years, I got 1.5 years left because of the rate of trash that you're accepting. I think you guys need to make a modification to the things that you're accepting up there to make this contract valid. That's all I got, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Peliquin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming and presenting us with this information tonight. Maybe I'm pessimistic in that I wasn't really shocked to hear that we don't have a terribly long time left in terms of capacity. I know that there's an awful lot of tonnage going there every year now with the expanded tonnage rate of 405,600 tons per year. That's a lot of truck traffic. And I hear about it regularly from folks who live in the neighborhood. And I know that you do your best to be good neighbors, and I really appreciate all of your efforts. I've heard really good things about Tracy, the site manager, when neighbors have had concerns. But I think overall, there's a lot of people who feel like there's not a lot of transparency in terms of what's going on, and I don't know if it comes back to communication. There's a lot of people that say lots of different things about the landfill, and it's a controversial topic. And I know that you have a lot of meetings with the town manager, but they're not public meetings because it's a private operator, and the public can't come to these meetings, and then people sort of feel like there's this veil of secrecy around what you do, and maybe this is why this seems really surprising to folks. So, I mean, I don't really know what to say in terms of, plans moving forward. There's a lot of really big decisions here that people have to make, but I will say that in general, moving forward, any time that you can possibly do more communicating, it would be beneficial to everybody, just so everybody knows that we're all on the same page in terms of what's going on. Thank you.
Are you all set, Councilor? Thank you. Mr. Clark?
When I started here in 2008, I read the agreement, looked it over, and I walked away with certain impressions. And, the one thing about transparency, and certainly in my time here, operating a landfill has been quite an experience. And to be able to track down and understand what's going on, why it's going on, and then to ask Casella to come in and do a presentation tonight is transparency.
Thank you.
These don't just happen. They don't just materialize because people think about it. Presentations like tonight materialize because we do have an ongoing conversation. I think council needs to kind of understand a couple things. There were some assumptions in that agreement for 180,000 tons. If the 180,000 tons was perpetuated, then that has one target. The agreement, and I read the agreement very carefully when I started, talks about the transition from 180 to 405 over a 2 or 3 year cycle. That's been completed. That 405 just came into effect, I think it was December of last year. So we now are at a different dynamic than where we were when we first started. And a lot has transpired. And I think the timing on this is actually right on to say, okay, now that what we initially had in the agreement, the 180,000 for a long time, with the idea that we have to go up to the 405. Going up to the 405, I'll remind council, was what was predicated in the agreement in order to build the road. So, there were certain caveats that were put in that agreement, quite honestly, by council to develop an industrial park. Some of those had ramifications. And hopefully what we've accomplished tonight is to lay out where we are now, where is the blueprint going forward. Now we know the 405 is 405. It's not going to go higher than 405, my understanding. So we're in a pattern where the regulatory approvals have been achieved, and now we're in the final build-out, if you would, of the landfill. And what does that mean? And I think when Casella comes tonight and says we should have annual updates, yeah, annual updates make sense. If you put certain materials in, you're going to extend the life. If you put certain materials, not put certain materials in, you're going to have an impact on the life. I didn't know that. So, that's why you do the presentation, to have a sense, what is the asset that the town of Southbridge has, and what is the best way to optimize that asset? And you can't make an informed decision unless you have good information. And tonight was the first opportunity to be transparent and to lay out, here's the factors that go into it. So I hope council takes this, in the spirit of education, understand what your asset is, understand where you are, and then move forward. When I started, the landfill royalty was $1 million. It's now $2.4 million. And we've been spending the money. So, you know, there's assumptions that were in there that we've been trying to live up to. I wasn't here, so I didn't get a sense for all those assumptions. I've read the material and read the agreement and did basically what the word said on the paper to do. So, and I understand the frustration, because when I read it, I assumed 20 years and no worries. I didn't understand what that really meant. And hopefully tonight, now we have a better understanding of what that means. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our Casella folks up here. I'm a little confused, I'll admit it. So I'm hoping you can help me out. Back in 2007, I really wasn't involved, but I did hear some about the site assignment. Now, if you're telling me back then, you said there was 20 years left to the landfill, and you're telling us tonight that the end of phase 2 is going to end in 2025. So
no, one of the Casella representatives, because we actually went back and somebody from the town had mentioned that in the transcripts that in 2007, I'll mention his name, Mr. Schwalbe had said that the landfill was going to last 12 to 13 years, which put it right in the time frame of 2019 to 2020 at the current run rate of 405. So what we tried to depict here is that we're only off by a year as we get closer. So it wasn't 20 years, it was 2020, the year 2020.
The year 2020. So we actually lost, according to you, 1 year out of?
Yeah, I don't know if the right wording is that we lost a year. Like I said, again, unfortunately, I'm not in Mr. Schwalbe's head, and I think he was at the time up here at the podium, and I think he kind of maybe shot from the hip a little bit and said we're in the 12 to 13 year window. So when you take 2007 or 2008 and you take the that time frame, you're in that 2020 window. And like I said, now as we move ahead a bunch more years, we think we're pretty close to what he estimated.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Clemens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our guests. I'm curious with the agreement, which read a lot of times in regard to expansion and what our obligations were to you. Not always liked what I read in here, not always agreed with things, but it was a contract signed by previous councils and agreed upon with this community. So we move forward with things like Commercial Drive and such. I do have a question. Under the fourth section, expansion of landfill facility, 4.2 states lateral expansion. It says, SRD shall not be allowed to laterally expand the solid waste management areas without an amendment to this extension agreement in compliance with all necessary approvals, including without limitation a major modification of the site assignment, approval of the Southbridge Board of Health, on and on it goes. So are we saying or not saying that what you're talking about here laterally is not this?
Yes, that wording you said back there, solid waste management area, there is a figure in the contract that depicts the solid waste management area that'll actually encompasses the blue building. Mm-hmm. So it was contemplated that the solid waste management area was the phase 2 expansion. Because in the CDM report, they talk about 9 million yards. And the only way to come up with the 9 million yards was to actually, in essence, go over Barefoot Road. Which again, like I said, ties to the solid waste management area.
Right, so when we looked at our maps, our cute little maps here, and we had the blue building, just really want to be aware of what we're talking about here.
So solid waste management
was the red line. Right, I understand. This was the red line that we saw on the TV screen. But that was not, or was it? That did not include the extension over Barefoot Road then? Or did it in your? So this black line is really a red line?
Well, what they did, yeah, it depicted the actual limits of the property. So as a solid waste management area.
So this is and they're saying they're gonna.
Like I said, it's in the agreement. It's an exhibit. I don't. know what number it is or what letter it is?
Do you know where in the contract it talks about the actual, do you know which, I'm kind of putting you on the spot probably.
It's
Obviously in the exhibits,
in the
there's,
exhibit.
I just want to know where to look for and where other people, because this contract is online, so people can look at some of the stuff you've talked about. Oops. There's nothing in it. Tonight for everybody. Sorry, I don't mean to be long. I just think it's an important subject.
The solid waste management area, as you can see,
It includes that.
Exhibit
Okay.
E.
So,
Exhibit E.
Exhibit E, for those of you who have this information, and I'm sure there's plenty of you out there, if you take a look at Exhibit E, it'll explain a little bit more of the solid waste management area. Okay, so you've answered that question at this point. It doesn't still settle properly with me, but I'm going to keep reviewing. So
Okay.
thank you for your answers.
How's that, Counselor? Thank you. Councilor Nicola?
Thank you. I just want to clarify, when I talk about 20 years, I'm not talking about what Mr. Schwalbe said at any microphone in front of the town council. I'm talking back in 2007, in executive session, Bruce Haskell from CDM clearly stated that this landfill would have an additional 20 years from 2007 on. There's at least one former member of the town council in the audience this evening that was there. Remember? And it was Bruce Haskell from CDM who stated emphatically, you've got a good 20 years of that landfill.
Yeah, but I think...
And I understand that since that statement was made, we sat around through through night after night of the hearings after that in order to expand what was going to be placed into the landfill. And I have to agree with Councilor Marcucci because I sat at home and I watched and took notes. And nobody asked and nobody answered that this was going, and again, it makes sense, but nobody ever said it, that it was going to weaken the landfill. And I don't want to sit here and say, boo-hoo, poor me, I should have known better and whatever. But I worked for a company years ago. You had to be there for 7 years in order to be what they called fully vested. And what that meant was that their stock options came in, you got 100%, you were 100% invested in their stock options after 7 years. The thing about something like that, and I'm not stupid, is that when you've been with a company for 7 years and you become fully vested, there's a pretty good chance you're not going anywhere because now they got you and you're going to stick. And I'm getting that feeling, and I don't care for it. I'm not going to be fully vested. I don't feel any need, 2.4 million, 3.4 million, 5 million, whatever. If there are people out there that are comfortable and happy about the landfill, they've never found their way to this town hall. The only people that ever show up and talk about anything that has to do Casella related are the people who are not happy. And for years I've been fending them off because I believed what I was told and what I read. And now I'm not so sure that I made all the right decisions based on the information that was provided to me. But I will be making some decisions based on the information I was provided with this evening. And I'm unhappy because I really did feel that this was a good thing. And now I have to look back and say maybe not. Because now in order for it to be a good thing, we're going to have to go through that all over again. And I'm not going to be going through it. I can assure you I won't be here. But I'll be sitting at home and I'll be living in this town and paying my taxes here, and I'm going to be watching very carefully because I don't care how you whitewash it. At the end of the day, what we were told back in 2007 was not the truth. Not the truth as we know it in 2013. And I'm disappointed, and that's all I can say right now. But we specifically were told 20 years. Nobody ever said anything different. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nicola. Mr. Murphy, would you like to speak to that, please?
Yes, just to address that issue. Ty and Bond was asked to do the independent review of that particular memo. And that particular paragraph on page 4 of Camp Dresser McKee's letter, written by Bruce Haskell, was reviewed. The written wording of the center paragraph on page 4 specifically discussed the 9.4 million cubic yards. And the way it's worded, it appears as though it's 9.4 million cubic yards extra above and beyond the 5.2. But if you go through the math in the letter, it appears as though the English was incorrect, and that what CDM actually meant by all the math that is presented in all the tables was that the total volume with Phase 1 and Phase 2 combined was 9.4 million cubic yards. At the direction of Mr. Clark and Town Council, we went back to Camp Dresser McKee and spoke to Mr. Haskell. Mr. Haskell specifically stated that it was never anticipated that there would be an additional above and beyond 20 years. So I think that it's fair to say that our understanding, based on the math, based on our review, based on the site design, based on Camp Dresser McKee's recent representation, is that the 9.4 million cubic yards is the total volume for Phase 1 and Phase 2 combined, just for clarity.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. Okay, agenda item number 8, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens that would like to come before council this evening? If you could state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Roger.
You broke it.
Hello? Okay. Good evening, Roger Coward, 82 Terry Avenue. I wasn't planning to speak this evening, but seeing Casella's up here and this issue about the landfill. Well, a few years ago, they wanted to build an access road to Industrial Park and get the...
Don't play with it, Roger. Roger, don't play with it. Don't do it, Roger.
Good evening. No? Okay, here we go. Good evening, this is Roger Coward, 82 Tilly Avenue. I was planning to speak this evening, but since Casella's here explaining the Phase 3 of the landfill, I've attended a lot of hearings regards to the Southbridge landfill, and I was against it right from the beginning. I'm a longtime resident of Southbridge, 73 years old, and I see no future in closing our airport for the accommodations of Mr. Casella and his company. Another thing is, when I was asked a few years ago by one of the councilors to do a petition drive for an access road for Industrial Park, and I did the petition drive, overwhelmingly voted 2 in favor against 2 to 1 in favor of an access road to Industrial Park, create Industrial Park and take the traffic off of Pleasant Street for 30 years because I felt the Pleasant Street residents had to put up enough of Casella's trucks all their lives and disturb their lives for 30 years, and I felt it was a change, and I was happy to do it. But I never thought we'd come to this year and doing something such underhanded as telling you one thing and doing another. Now, if Casella really has Southbridge's best interest at heart, they'd start tomorrow morning and start recycling more, and they're talking about compacting certain kind of materials. Well, any junk that should not go in the landfill that decreases the landfill age, keeping it going, should be eliminated immediately from the landfill. And I just feel Casella gave us a bill of goods, and guess what? We got caught with a pants down, I believe, because they say one thing and now there's another thing's happening, and I just feel this is a great injustice created to the town of Southbridge, because we don't need garbage from the whole state of Massachusetts and out of landfill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cowett. Any other citizens? If you could state your name and address, please.
My name is Richard Snyder. I live at 560 Worcester Street in Southbridge. Now, my message, I had been going to traffic commission meetings that were being held at the police station. I was warning about the merge from Foster onto Central and Mechanic onto Worcester Street. Back then, they were only warnings. But on November 4th, I fully realized how prophetic those warnings were. I had just gotten past the point on Worcester Street where the merge connects onto Worcester Street. There was nobody there as I approached. And then somebody out of nowhere, driving a van, flew by and forced me onto the oncoming traffic lane. I could very well have been seriously injured or possibly killed if there was oncoming traffic. At those meetings that were being held at the police station, Mr. Clark told me, we'll have to study it. I think he's had more than enough time to study it. I went to see him here on November 6th. He took down what I dictated to him. I can't even read it myself. I couldn't even read my own handwriting if I had to write that much. And he told me on November 6th that he would get back to me in 4 days' time. Well, it's been a lot more than 4 days, and I haven't heard anything. He never got back to me. It was the same thing I had been getting at the traffic commission meetings. Mr. Clark, I don't buy newspapers. If I had, I might have read about your resignation effective next month. You now have an opportunity to leave Southbridge with your head held high. Issue the order and have those Jersey barriers put in place before somebody does get killed. Or somebody just put in the hospital because they're not there. You have the time now, tomorrow, when you come to work, issue the order and have those Jersey barriers put in place before somebody does get killed or seriously injured. That is part of your job. I want you to do that job. I'm going to use a phrase that I feel many of you might have heard at some point in your lifetime. But that experience that I had on November 4th was enough to shake my I'm not being vulgar. I've heard that expression many times over the course of many years. So I mean no disrespect to anyone here when I say that. And with my physical condition concerning my bowels, it would have shook it right out into my pull-ups.
Okay, Mr. Snyder.
And that is something I don't need.
All right, but Mr. Snyder, you're in a public forum, and we are at a town council meeting.
I can't even hear you. There's too much echo in here.
Mr. Snyder, we are at a town council meeting, and we are in a public forum. You cannot use profanity at the podium. If you're all set, we'll discuss it with Mr. Clark, and Mr. Clark will help you, but profanity is not accepted at the podium.
I don't know what you said. I couldn't hear you.
I'll talk to you after the meeting. I can't get any louder than what I am.
I'm sure that Mr. Carrasco would be happy to tell me what you just said.
I don't, what are you insinuating, Mr. Snyder?
What?
What are you insinuating by saying that about Mr. Carrasco?
And she's going to talk to Mr. Clark. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Are there any other citizens? Councilor Clemens?
I just have a question in regard to the questions or comments. I've noticed in the last few months, because we had heard some of these concerns, there are stop signs now at both of those yields. That used to be yields are now stop signs with a lot of stop sign, you know, more than one in some places, which doesn't alleviate the turn for some people, obviously, but certainly I feel a little better about knowing there's a stop sign when I'm driving on 169 or on coming around the corner with Foster. I realize that's a temporary or a small fix, but I do like the fact that there's a stop sign there. So,
thank you, Councilor Clemens. Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not wish to perpetuate it, but I do wish to at least speak to some of the elements. Mr. Schneider did come forward. He presented some issues in regards to two intersections. We do have, as part of the, I guess, a downtown master plan, a study done to reconfigure some of the roadway configurations on Foster and North Street, and we did specifically look at Mechanic and Worcester Street. We understand that it's a dangerous situation. The town does not have unlimited funds. The town has scheduled the work, or has plans to schedule the work at Foster and North, and I will send out, and he's absolutely right, I have been remiss. It's been over probably 2 weeks, probably about 2 weeks, that I have not got back to him, and I will follow up with that, because the police chief did look at it. That intersection is dangerous, but the incident that he's referring to is someone ran a stop sign, and I informed him of this, that I cannot be held responsible for people violation of the traffic rules and regulations of the town of Southbridge. So we understand it's a dangerous situation, and we'll take corrective action towards that end, and I will CC the letter to council, so council is sure that it gets done. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Anyone else? Citizens Forum?
My name's John Pulaski. I live off Old Woodstock Road. And the reason I'm addressing you tonight, I have a few concerns. I don't want to come across as though I'm defending the landfill operator, but I recall at a Board of Health meeting, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it was the meeting in which the minutes are missing, and the minutes aren't available. It's just a signature of the current Board of Health members saying the minutes are not available, and that's all. We have a Board of Health meeting that occurred a few years back in which they're missing minutes. And I'm not in any way implying a conspiracy theory, but I'm certain at that meeting, or perhaps a meeting in which there are minutes, it was revealed that the landfill timeline will be ending. I believe at that time, a few years ago, they were talking in approximately 6 years. So I'm not an engineer by any means, but I did a lot of homework during those site assignment hearings. I predicted 2016 based on the 40,000 tons, now 400,000 tons. Now, we didn't get that 400,000 tons right away. It was held up a few years due to litigation. And perhaps if it wasn't for that litigation, the landfill would already be filled up. But I have a concern about that bond that was taken out to pay for the landfill access road, or the industrial park access road. And I know it's being paid sort of as you go, and it's backed up by tipping fees. And my concern is if the council decided to take a secure position that there wasn't going to be an increase of this footprint, and let's say the engineering firm didn't take into consideration that there are new laws preventing organics from going into landfills. And this is important because organics, our garbage, breaks down. So what is solid becomes air and gas, therefore it breaks down quicker. And I don't know, I tried to find out from Mr. Murphy, I don't know how that would affect the numbers. It may, depending on what they put in there, contaminated soil, let's say, versus polystyrene, I mean, there's so many variables, like I've mentioned before. We should look at content, not just weight. But I'm curious if, for some reason, our landfill operator no longer accepts additional waste, or is no longer accepting tipping fees, are they going to pay for the rest of the bond? Does the town of Southbridge pay for the bond? Or is there some mechanism where there was some guarantee that if, I don't know what engineering fee, which engineering firm backed up that bond agreement with Unibank? Was it CDM? Was it Mr. Murphy's firm? I don't know, but I think this is something, especially we're in between town managers, I'd hate to see that get missed, because we ought to prepare ourselves for that contingency. And as far as the landfill, I'll go up here and say I said 2016. I'm not saying that to say I told you so. I'm saying it more. It doesn't give me any pleasure that a lot of things that Mr. Gaddy, Mr. Bynuma, and a dozen other ladies and gentlemen that came here, their concerns, a lot of these things seem to be happening. And I find the people from Casella to be pretty agreeable. When I've asked Mr. Schwabe questions in the past, he was very fair and answered the questions like a gentleman. It was helpful. But I just hope we're a little more prudent if we do expand that footprint in any way. I was told that the airport was going to Casella 5 years ago by someone who was on the airport commission. I can see today, I have a sense of confidence that this council, at least the one we have right here, isn't going to allow that to happen. But there are alternatives. There are gas digesters that could allow us perhaps to legally accept organic waste, and it's contained completely, not leaking as it does in soil. I mean, we can't turn this lemon into lemonade. And maybe we can have a committee, an exploratory committee, to look into some of these options, to work with the landfill operator to whatever degree they're willing to work. I believe there was one, is it in Rutland perhaps? I mean, it's not too far from here, a small gas digester. When I used to put solar systems in the third world, they had gas digesters made out of 55-gallon drums where they took their organic waste and with a tube just had gas to provide their potable hot water. That can be done in a much larger scale. It really is, I wouldn't say low tech, but it's more a simple technology. And there are technologies that, there is a site assignment there, and I believe on the current size footprint, this might be, in a left-handed way, an opportunity to force creative solutions to protect our health even more, because landfills leak for decades. So this may be an opportunity to protect us from some of the gaseous unpleasantries that come out of landfills, and concurrently the town makes money, and the landfill operator, their investors could be happy because money can be made. So this isn't This isn't a time to feel that it's a disaster. There's an opportunity here to, John F. Kennedy said, one of my favorite speeches of him at American University a few months before he was taken before his time, that an era is not a mistake unless an error is not a mistake if we correct the error.
That's right.
And we can correct our errors and move on in a progressive way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Pulowski. Mr. Pulowski, Mr. Clark is going to answer your question. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to at least answer a couple. There was a few in there. Specifically to the part about the roadway, and we did bond it for 20 years, and how did we make sure that the bond would go beyond, if it goes beyond the life. And when the town signed up and sold that bond on the roadway, there was an element in the agreement with Casella that if the life of the landfill is less, then they would continue to make that payment on the road until such time as the 20-year bond has been concluded. So there are elements of the agreement that go beyond the life of the landfill, and that was one element that we made sure, because I do very hard when I make a commitment to try to make sure I live up to that. And when that road was approved by council, it was approved with the understanding that taxpayers wouldn't pay anything. That would actually come from the landfill proceeds. And I think we were successful in making that happen. And that is part of the bond documents related to that bond issuance. On the missing minutes, I think I remember which ones you're referring to, in which there was Board of Health had made several inquiries about the life of the landfill, and there were minutes that were missing. The reason why the minutes were missing was because we were in between recording clerks. A member of the Board of Health chose to take those minutes and basically never provided those minutes to us, and had the recorder and never provided the recorder to us. So the town was left in a very unenviable position of how do you verify a meeting when the person that has the material refused to provide it to us. So we have what the Attorney General's office authorized us to do in that circumstance, which is we did the best we could with staff to present those minutes from that period of time. But when you have an uncooperative member of the board who subsequently left, that's sometimes what happens. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Are you all set, Mr. Pulowski? Thank you. Any other citizens? Come to the podium. Please state your name and address.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Zotos. I now live at 60 Charlton Street. And I wasn't going to watch this meeting. I was home watching MSNBC. And during a commercial, I switched over. And I heard one of the counselors say, "Nobody said anything about this. Nobody spoke out against this landfill. I never knew. Nobody said a word." And so I put my hat and coat, like everybody else who stopped watching the meeting, and I ran down here. Now, I only got 3 minutes, so what can I say in 3 minutes? I'll say this. I never missed a meeting in 12 years. And when we started the hearings, which I produced the hearings, they agreed to pay cable. They never paid cable. They agreed to have 4 meetings. We had about 80. I really don't know the number. We had our first meetings, and we never told Sturbridge they were an abutter, when everybody at Casella and everybody on board knew Sturbridge wasn't a butter. But these people sold us a bill of goods, and after 6 weeks into the meeting, we found out, oh, Sturbridge isn't a butter. Put the brakes, start the meetings again. You got to invite butters here. So see, the first thing they said to us was not true. And they tried to rush through these meetings. 2 meetings, Paul, 4 meetings. That's why we signed on. Everybody got paid $5 grand who worked those cameras except me. 3 years later, I got paid. Then I got the boot. But I'm going to tell you one thing. As a producer, we're going to watch those meetings again. We're going to start rerunning them like TV Land and like Me TV. Me means memorable entertainment. So rather than get up here and tell you a 3-minute story, that's right, Because Roger's in every movie, I'm in that movie. Pulowski told us 1,000 times, don't do this. It's not true. So we'll book it, and let's run all the meetings again, and let's watch them again. Why have the hearing again? Let's just watch the last one. And when you see that nothing came true except they made millions, maybe billions, we'll never know. But that mountain up there, that's a good indication of how much money they made. And this cup is a good indication of what we made. So look at that mountain and look at that cup. That's their pocketbook. I see Mr. Farisi, I love him. He's a great guy. He never gave me any baloney. But I don't see Mr. Bolek, the president. I don't see Mr. Schwabe. I don't see all those lawyers. I don't see anybody from the old days. I don't see everybody who came to that podium like me and John. Guess what? Look at the tapes and look back. None of us ever asked for something for ourselves. You never saw me come up here and say, I want something. You never saw John say he wanted his road patched. You never saw one person come to this podium and ask for something selfish. We all tried to stop this monster from taking over our town. Look at it. Doesn't look like the town I came home to. It does not. I'm not holding any of you responsible, even the manager. None of you. I love you all. That's why I'm still here. I didn't run away. I'm never going to run away. I'm going to stay here till my days are done. I'm going to be at Oak Ridge if anybody cares. But I'm going to try to see what I can do to slow this thing down. And right now, let's take Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine right out of the mix this year. And next year, let's take all the big cities, Boston, Springfield, Hartford. Let's take them out of the mix next year. Let's keep this landfill for us, all our surrounding towns. Hi, Kathleen. And I don't mind anything between here and Providence, I don't mind. Any town between here and Hartford, I don't mind. Any little town in Massachusetts that's willing to recycle like us, I don't mind. I bet you that would give us 10 more years. Cut out, you don't think Vermont has enough room to bury their trash? Come on. Cut out those 3 states, cut out the big cities next year. Let's make a deal with these people. These people are better than somebody we don't know. Let's just make the deal with them and keep this landfill for 10 years or more for nice little towns that recycle like us, which is what John and all of us, what we always wanted right from the beginning. We never said our way or the highway. We said, let's work together. Let's go zero waste. Let's go pick up our trash. We did all that. Other councils here work very hard at recycling. Roger, we had coupons, we had everything going. We gave up, like healthcare, and we had to all go along with the landfill. We all gave it up, and we all went along with it. Now here we are. We got a chance to agree. One more time, folks. Let's all agree. Don't do this. Or let's just do this even Steven. All right? Because when you watch the tapes, I'll replay every one of them. Nobody comes up here that says they want a landfill. Not one citizen. The only people that came up here and said they wanted it had a piece of the pie. The rest didn't want it. There was no 2 sides. There was only one side. None of us wanted it. Some of us didn't know how bad it was going to be. Some of us did. But the only people who wanted it, they're all gone now. They either left, moved to Florida, got voted out. We don't know where they went. Some quit the company. You know, Casella isn't in as many states as they used to be. I go online, I Google. I don't know if I should believe everything I read. Doesn't look good even for them. So let's partner up with them, make this last 10 more years, then we're all friendly again. Make the road, finish the deal, say goodbye to the manager. Let's get TV back the way it was. We used to have our own channel. Everything used to be on.
Excuse me, Mr. Zotos.
I'm done.
Okay.
They said
Finish
TV
up,
was
please.
going to be better without me. I don't see it. I wish I could. I'd love to watch Southbridge TV. You know? I'm doing the best I can do. I still love this town. I love everybody in it. I will fight for this forever, and I'm not quitting. Good luck, everybody. Keep fighting.
Thank you. Any other citizens? Seeing none. Agenda item number 9. Vote to confirm the appointment of Paulette DeSorsi to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Roll call, please.
Councillor Clemens?
Yes.
Councillor Manna?
Yes.
Councillor Marcucci?
Yes.
Councillor Moriarty?
Yes.
Councillor Nicola?
Yes.
Councillor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councillor Vandal?
Yes.
Councillor Kraskow?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, vote to confirm the appointment of Michael Marino to the Commission on Disability for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2016.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 11, vote to ratify the transfer of FY 2014 Local Cultural Council funds from the Mass Cultural Council in the amount of $9,300 covering the dates of service from July 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12, vote to ratify the agreement between the Town of Southbridge and Stan Kabinski, Inc. for the demolition and removal of materials from 130 Everett Street, Southbridge, in the amount of $15,900.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I have a question about this.
Go ahead,
I
Councilor
was just
Peliquin.
wondering if the funding source was the line item for demolition in the annual budget. Just,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, vote to transfer the sum of $60,000 from the following accounts to fund the change-out and replacement of the fire station heating system. Town Council Reserve 11325781 in the amount of $20,000. Sale of real estate receipts Reserve 6522 in the amount of $20,000. Landfill royalty receipts Reserve 6790 in the amount of $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 14, vote to approve the bonfire at McMahon Field pursuant to Mass General Law for pre-Thanksgiving football activities.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 15, vote to approve the Bicentennial Committee's request to host fireworks at the Southbridge Municipal Airport in coordination with the Airport Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ron, would you want him to speak first, Counselor?
I think he's probably going to answer my questions. So
Okay.
I'm all set.
Good evening. The Southbridge Rotary Club was asked if we would take part in helping the Bicentennial Committee celebrate the town's 200th birthday. We gladly accepted and offered to sponsor a fireworks display on their behalf. The Bicentennial Committee gracefully thanked us for offering and asked us to move forward with that. We felt that the best way to do that would be to first come and ask you, the town council, for your blessing, and then follow that up with a discussion with the Airport Commission about utilizing the airport for the display. And then we're going to reach out to our members and other local businesses to help us fund the fireworks we're hoping to put on a display that people haven't seen outside of Boston on the 4th of July. So what we're here to do is ask exactly that for the Bicentennial, not near the 4th of July, it'll probably be in August, a mid-August fireworks show to celebrate the town's 200th birthday. We would just like your blessing.
Thank you. Did you?
No, he answered.
Answered. Any other counselors have any other questions?
Just
go ahead, Ron.
one other piece. We don't want any of your money. We'll pay for everything that we need to pay for. Firefighters, police officers, the whole shooting match, cleaning up the airport afterwards. We're going to fund it. We're going to take care of it via local businesses and donations.
Okay, so we can expect you out in the community for
Ab-
donations, almost like a bucket.
Absolutely. We have
on
put
Main
together plans for a 3-year campaign. We feel it's much easier for businesses to understand you got 3 years to come up with X number of dollars as opposed to hitting them up for all at the last minute. And so the spring of 2014, the spring of 2015, and 2016 is the plan. What we're hoping to do, we're on the agenda of the next Airport Commission, so assuming things go well tonight, we will be before them soon. And if we get their blessing as well, we will send letters out to the community in December.
Thank you very much. Councilor Moriarty?
Just quickly, and this is more so just as a reminder to the general public, because I've seen this unfortunately happen firsthand with Little League and other things. If in the event that somebody approaches you looking for funds for something like this, certainly if it's Mr. Chinesky, who we've seen up here and presumably will have the blessing of the council, by all means. But if you do have any questions or doubts as to the validity of that individual, certainly contact either the Bicentennial Committee or the Rotary Club, because unfortunately we have seen in the past different individuals going around acting as if they were collecting for a group or an agency that they were not. So I just want to, again, if it's somebody that you know for sure is definitely from Rotary Club or the Bicentennial Committee, that's great. But otherwise, just be smart and safe. Thank you.
Point well taken, Councilor.
Our committee also, just as a side note, is made up of myself, who ran the last fireworks that the town had, and Ken Risner, who coordinated the fireworks that Hyde did for their celebration a number of years back, which I think was probably the biggest display we've ever had in town. It was a heck of a day, so we've got some real experience doing it as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Nicola?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you. As a citizen in town, I look forward to that. It's been a long time, and I always enjoy the fireworks, so thank you very much to the Rotary Club in advance, in anticipation, and to all of the businesses that will, I'm sure, support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else before he leaves? No? Thank you very much. Could I have a roll call on that, please?
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 16, Councilors Forum. Councilor Clements, we'll start with you this evening.
Thank you. I have one professional question to our guests. I've been thinking as we've been moving through this meeting. I have a question in regard to the tonnage that we are going to, the landfill capacity as it sits right now. What will be our end number? Do you have an end number for the capacity when we're done? For instance, on your map, you show site build-out volume of another 4.400 million, or you have 3.600. You know, I mean, 3.6 million. Where will we end existing now, capacity-wise? Do you know? Not the footprint. What we're doing now, not phase 2, phase 1. What will we end up with? Can't hear you. Right. No, I don't mean the year. I mean, what will be the tonnage? What will be the capacity of the? What will we have put there? Okay. 5.2 million? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, you can answer me that question. My question is in tons. Life of landfill, what is the tons when it's all filled? In its existing phase 1. That's my question. If you want to take some time and tell me after the meeting, that's fine.
Isn't this phase 2?
Yeah.
She means phase 1. Excuse me, Counselor, if you look on the blue papers.
I want to make sure I understand the question so we provide an accurate answer. So when the existing footprint is closed?
Yeah, when the existing footprint is filled,
how
phase
many
1.
tons?
How many tons?
Will remain?
Will have been in there.
Okay.
What did we put in?
Okay.
That's the question.
All right.
Is that represented somewhere? Did I miss it?
Well, the existing footprint is 5.2 million cubic yards. So,
Well,
it-
okay, that's not in tons. I'm looking
I
at
know,
I'm looking at a document that lists tons.
I know it's not tons.
Okay, tell me after, then I won't take any more of that time. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so on to more friendly topics. You might have been out and about in town. You might have noticed a few leaning elves and reindeer. A lot more standing than leaning. We did have a good crew on Saturday go out and help with decorating and getting our holiday spirit moving along in anticipation with our tree lighting here in town, which is going to take place on December 1st at the corner of Main and Elm. We have a blue spruce that's been donated this year by the LaFronde family on High Street that Marshall Morse will cut down on Friday. And at some point, it will magically appear on the corner of Main and Elm like it's been there forever. And Mr. Laporte, Lenny Laporte, our former fire chief, will come and illuminate it for us. So I just want to remind people that on December 1st, Sunday evening, after Thanksgiving, we will have this event as usual. Santa will come down to the tree approximately 5 o'clock for a lighting, and then we'll continue on to the Common, where you will be entertained by the Act Two Ministries, the wonderful Victorian people that come out and sing for us every year, along with Pat Spinelli's DJ services. There'll be pictures with Santa by Village Photo, and we hope that you'll participate in that. It's only $5. They're wonderful pictures, and it helps defray the event costs. And, of course, cocoa and cookies by the Southbridge Conference Center. So there's a lot of great stuff going on that evening. It really is a wonderful time. And since this will be the last meeting before then, I figured I've got to get the whole promo in for the community. I would also like to mention, we've been trying to add to this with little floats the last couple of years. We do our best. But we would love more involvement. If you, your family, your business, your scout group, somebody would like to participate in the procession that comes down Main Street and goes to the Common, we highly recommend it. It's really a great opportunity as a family to get together. I know we do that on usually Friday and Saturday and put lights all over trailers and try to make it really fun for the community. But if you would like to do that, we encourage that. We ask that whatever cart, wagon, vehicle you choose to participate with has lights on it. It has to be a lit unit of some sorts. That's a requirement we heard that Connecticut does, and what am I thinking? What's the town in Connecticut? That's the white lights. Putnam, excuse me. Sorry about that. And we think that's a great idea, because what's better than some wonderful Christmas lights coming down the street? So if you would like to participate, you're welcome to. If you could give me a shout at 508-277-4494, or Councilor Manna. Our numbers are in the newspaper. They're on the websites. They're also on the cable access channel. The ads are running. You'll see posters out there. We would like a heads up if you're going to participate, so we can coordinate you up at Wells. But if you just want to come out and join us for some caroling and some fun evening, we hope you will participate. And again, thank you to the volunteers who came out and spent most of Saturday with us. It was a beautiful day. It was perfect weather for this. And I want to give a special shout out for some special elves that helped me on Sunday with a little project we're working on. And that was Joe Hewlick, John Matthews, and John Larochelle, along with Lenny Laporte. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the time on your off hours on Sunday. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Clemens. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I just want to make mention on what Town Manager Mr. Clark had stated in regards to the emergency, the snow ban taking effect December 1st through April 1st, the alternate side parking. I live on one of those streets, and it's just to be mindful that if we do get snow between now and December 1st, that rule also applies. I just wanted to add that to that, because I have gotten a ticket before, so. and that was it. And yes, thank you for everyone that came out and helped Saturday. And a special thanks to Councilor Clements and her husband, who had put very much effort into downtown. And a special thanks to Rudy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vandal?
Through you to the town manager. How long do our monitors, what time do they get off work in the evening? Our town monitors at the landfill.
The landfill monitors?
Yes.
I don't know if the gentleman from the Board of Health, I don't think he was here earlier, but he's left. I think they stay until 3 o'clock, which is kind of around the time that the last truck comes into the facility. 4 o'clock.
My wife's on her way to bingo on a Wednesday evening, and she says there's trucks coming in. I've seen personally trucks coming in after 5 o'clock. If our monitors are going home at 3 o'clock, that's a no-no. I want the monitors to be there when their last truck leaves, or have a specific time and have them hold it to that time, that after 5 o'clock, we have no more trucks. We turn you away, because we don't have any monitors up there, you know? You think you could?
Yeah, let me look into that. One of the things that we do have, if our landfill monitor is on, actually it's a spotter that's up in the waste spotter, that's more of a critical position. If the landfill is open later, we do pay overtime for him to stay. If he's on vacation or if he can't cover, then we actually do have an agreement with Ty and Bond for them to send a person in to cover. So we usually do have coverage during the hours in which it's open. So, but I will verify that because I don't do it every day.
And I'm no great lover of Casella. People know that right from the beginning, okay? And the old town council, some of the older guys, gals that were here, the older town council, we had an agreement going that as soon as this contract was done, we weren't going to give them any extra footage, land, you know, cells. We just wanted them to move on and get out of town. At the time they sold us, they didn't sell me a bill of goods, but they sold some of them a bill of goods, like they sold a couple of us here. And now you're finding out that it's not all gravy. Put it that way. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Peliquin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a call from a local business owner in the Globe Village, the owner of the gas station. He says that he's been having a hard time with his business in light of the interruptions over this past year due to the work around the area, due to the problem with the road, which I understand. But now he's in a position where he's not sure if he can keep the business open, and he was really interested in potentially being able to meet with the manager to see if he could discuss what happens and whether the town can do anything. And I told him that I would relay that information and see if we could potentially set up a meeting for him. I'd actually heard from a couple of his customers as well. So perhaps we can set that up at some point this week.
Maybe after the meeting, Councilor, you could provide Mr. Clark with his name and phone number. And
I actually have met with him in the past. He has some issues because he purchased a site that's a contaminated waste site, and he agreed to pick up some of the costs related to that. So there are some issues. I did ask Representative Durant, who has more with underground storage tank cleanups, if he would be able to provide some assistance, and I'm not sure how that made out.
Okay.
But I'm happy to meet with him and just explore those options again with him.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's it for me tonight. Thank you. Yeah.
Councilor Nicola? Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to go back to what we were discussing earlier briefly and say that at the time that we signed a contract many years ago, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, I'm just speaking for me, I felt then, and I feel now, we didn't have a choice. We had a landfill, and it needed help. And I still believe that our best bet was Casella. I'm not coming off of that. I'm concerned about some of the things some of the elements of what took place back then and some of the decisions I made based on those elements. But the premise is, we have a landfill. There's no black and white. There's no saying, well, let's just, cut out all of these extra, customers and we can continue with it. Or there are contracts in place. There are things that have to be followed, and I understand that. I guess I'm just having a particularly bad day. I'm losing my town manager, and I'm hearing I'm getting a short end of the stick on the landfill, and I'm not happy about it. So that's where I'm coming from, and if I sounded frustrated and stupid. I apologize for that. I think that Casella's done a lot for our community, and I'm sure that they're going to continue as long as they're here. But I do still have some concerns regarding the future of that landfill, and always have a concern about the future of this town. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I get enough bad press just breathing the air, and I wanted to make sure that that was clear, that I am not sorry that I voted to sign that contract. I'll never be sorry for that. I think it was a good thing. I still do. I'm just a little concerned about where we're going from here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you. I just had two quick things. One is, since we won't be meeting before Thanksgiving, just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, as that's coming up pretty quickly. Secondly, by Thanksgiving, there's a local kid who's, I want to say Ethan's probably 12 or 13, Ethan Ayotte, who is a kid I had the privilege of coaching briefly a couple years ago. And he is putting together a drive for collecting socks for the homeless. He had read an article somewhere and was inspired by that, which I think is great, that one, there's kids still reading newspaper articles, but two, that it spurred him to action. So he is collecting for a group called Our Father's House. And what they do, I guess, is among other things, but they give out about 100 pairs of socks per week for people in need in Worcester County. He is closing in on a goal of about 300 pairs of socks so far. And anybody who's interested or able to donate any socks, whether they're just regular old socks, the town clerk's office donated some of these boot socks that I'm sure would be much more appreciated, as they're pretty warm looking for the winter months that are upcoming. And if you are looking to drop off some socks for this cause, you can do so either at Enrico's in Sturbridge, or you can drop it off at Trinity Catholic Academy, and just let them know that it's going to the Ayottes and the sock collection drive. If people are you know, I'm kind of out of the way, but if people want, they can drop them off with me as well, and I'll get them to them. I have some to get to them. So I just wanted to congratulate Ethan on such a good endeavor, and hopefully he can surpass his goal of 300 socks and make a big difference for some folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moriarty. Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, I just got two things. First, I was able to go to the Veterans Program at Charlton Street School, and I just want to congratulate all the students and the staff and the school for a great program. It was an excellent time. It was very, very well put together, and the students did a marvelous job, so I just want to congratulate and show some positive things that are happening within our school department, and Charlton Street School did a great job with that presentation. And second, on Thanksgiving Day, House of Destiny Ministries Incorporated will be offering a free Thanksgiving Day meal. Located this year, it's going to be at 320 Main Street. For anybody that doesn't have family to participate with, or doesn't have the resources this year to eat a Thanksgiving meal, come down to 320 Main Street, and we will be having a nice hot Thanksgiving meal. We'll have 3 different types of turkeys, baked, stewed, and fried. So please come on down. It'll start at 12 o'clock. It's going to be a great time. So 320 Main Street on Thanksgiving Day. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Carrasco. All I want to do is, on behalf of myself and the Town Council, wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving as you sit at your table and break bread with family and friends. Agenda item number 17, discussion of next meeting date, will be Monday, December 2nd, 2013, 7 p.m. in the council chambers. And agenda number 18 is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.